All right, so are you ready to jump into pretty fascinating?
Always up for fascinating.
We're going to be looking at how a German author from like over a century ago might actually still be shaping how some Germans see the world.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And especially like when it comes to migration and how people view that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so our source today is a YouTube video essay by Political Ferret, who's an Austrian commentator.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes this really interesting argument that Germans, maybe more than other cultures, they kind of romanticize certain groups
Okay.
that they see as noble savages.
Okay.
And he thinks this might be tied to the works of this author, Karl May.
Interesting. And what's, I think, also quite fascinating here is this distinction that Political Ferret himself draws between Austrian and German culture.
Oh, that's right.
And he attributes that mainly to the Roman heritage that Austria has and Germany lacks.
That's a really good point.
So I think this might play a role in this whole equation as well.
For sure. So for those who haven't encountered Karl May before, who exactly was he?
So Karl May was a German writer, super popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Okay.
And he was best known for writing these adventure stories that were set in the American West, often featuring Native Americans.
Gotcha.
And Political Ferret actually describes May as being as present as cheese and taxes in his childhood.
Cheese and taxes. Okay.
So you can kind of imagine how deeply ingrained his work was in German culture.
Yeah, for sure. So May's portrayals of Native Americans weren't exactly historically accurate, were they?
No, not really. He presented them as these noble savages, living in harmony with nature, possessing this kind of wisdom that modern civilization had lost.
Oh, okay.
It's a very romanticized, idealized view,
Yeah.
much more reflective of, I guess, German longing than reality.
And Political Fair points out that it wasn't just in the one series of books he did. He also wrote this whole series about the Orient.
Yeah.
And those stories also had this noble savage kind of trope in them.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny because Political Ferret calls this the German spirit will heal the world mentality.
Oh, wow.
And so you have these wise, capable Germans who help these romanticized, noble savages kind of find their way.
Interesting.
So it's a recurring theme in May's work.
So we had this popular author who presented this very specific view of non-European cultures.
Right.
How does Political Ferret connect this to modern day Germany and their approach to migration?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So he argues that modern Germany still acts in a way that kind of echoes these Karl May stories.
Okay.
There's this impulse to help other cultures, almost as if assuming a certain level of superiority.
Right.
And he suggests that this helper role could be rooted in that same noble savage idealization we talked about.
Oh, okay. So you're saying there might be this unconscious expectation that migrants will fit into this romanticized image of the noble savage.
Yeah, that's what Political Ferret argues. And he suggests that when reality inevitably clashes with those idealized expectations,
Right. Real people are complex and diverse.
Yeah.
It can lead to disappointment, frustration, even resentment.
yeah, that's a pretty provocative idea.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of wonder if this romanticization can actually be harmful in the long run because it's setting up all these unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And it raises all these questions about how we perceive and interact with other cultures.
Yeah,
How much do our inherited narratives shape those interactions?
for sure.
And what happens when reality just doesn't match those narratives?
Yeah, a lot to think about. So after listening to Political Ferret, what do you think? Could this noble, savage idea be influencing how some Germans view and interact with migrants today?
Yeah. It's tough to say for sure, but it's definitely something worth considering, especially as the world becomes, increasingly interconnected.
Yeah, for sure. A lot to ponder. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.